Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, we have some potential spoilers for the WrestleMania 37 main event. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you about the WWE legend? Let's go with legend, who is returning at Survivor Series 2020.
And speaking of WWE legends, one was released and Cody Rhodes has got some political aspirations. This is the news.
I bet he does. Anyway, we are going to kick things off by speculating like hell. Let's just put that little disclaimer at the very front of this goddamn thing. Asuka! Last night, wrestling Nia Jax on Raw. What did Byron Saxton say? He said that this match is worthy of the WrestleMania main event. Was that an accident? Was that Byron Saxton just ad-libbing? Had Byron Saxton lost his mind because Nia Jax in a WrestleMania main event? No, he was not. This was instructed to him. This was fed to him. It was a scripted line that whoever put the script together wanted Byron to say. That is according to Fightful Select. It was a deliberate instruction. So naturally, when you hear about things like that, you wonder, are WWE planting some seeds here? Are they planning on putting Asuka in the WrestleMania 37 main event? Well, it's an interesting proposition. WrestleMania 35, of course, the first women's main event in WrestleMania history. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey. But you had the benefit of having a legitimate mainstream star in Ronda Rousey for that match. And of course, your two strongest pushed women at the time, Becky Lynch and Charlotte. WrestleMania 37, I mean, if it's in an empty arena, right, and there's a chance it might be, despite yesterday's very positive vaccine news, you could absolutely do whatever the hell you want in a WrestleMania main event, right? You could, I don't know, you could put Tucker in there if you wanted to be I mean, you wouldn't, because that'd be mental. But what do you reckon of this, Adam Wilborn? Asuka's obviously in a strong position now, Raw Women's Champion, broken up by that Sasha Banks reign, but she's been on top for a while now, and she's great, so cool.
I think Tucker's got more of a chance of getting into the WrestleMania main event, genuinely. Don't get me wrong, I love Asuka, and I think she merits wrestling a WrestleMania main event, but no, it's Asuka. Come on. Like, be serious. Neither out of Asuka or Nia Jax will ever main event a WrestleMania, in my opinion. I think Asuka deserves to a certain extent. Maybe not next year, but maybe previously she deserved to, or if you book the right program for a decent amount of time. But I don't see that happening with her, and I certainly don't see Nia Jax in a WrestleMania main event ever. Particularly next year's WrestleMania, where it's the first WrestleMania main event that I can think of where people are like, right, you need to have Roman Reigns in the main event.
Yeah.
Like, I almost don't mind who he's facing, whether it's Big E or The Rock. It's the big dog. It's the tribal chief. He needs to go to the main event of WrestleMania. But I can understand why they would want to plant that sort of seed in people's minds, because they should make it feel like everyone merits a spot on the in WrestleMania main event. I mean, they've counter-programmed themselves almost with that sort of idea for quite some time now. But yeah, I understand that people will get excited about this, but yeah, to be honest, especially considering the fact that English isn't her first language, I really don't see Asuka ever main eventing WrestleMania. Although, as I said, in terms of her wrestling merit, she probably deserves to. Speaking of WrestleMania, a voice synonymous with WrestleMania, saying things like the Rated R Superstar. Tony Chimel, unfortunately, released very recently the releases that went down last Friday, as reported by PW insiders Mike Johnson. Around 10 to 15 people released. Ring announcer Tony Chimel, one of them. We also had Spanish language announcer Jerry Soto. Majority of the other people, mainly behind the scenes crew members in Stamford, that have been released. But Tony Chimel, by far and away, the most notable name to be released. Started as a WWE announcer all the way back in 1989. Has done a variety of jobs on a variety of shows, but is a legend and will be sorely missed. A real voice of WWE in my eyes, Andy.
Yeah, Tony Chimel is kind of like, he's not obviously going to be as renowned as Howard Finkel and people like that going forward, but I always associate Tony Chimel's voice and ring announcing with one of my most engaged periods of wrestling, the end of the Attitude Era, the last few years of that, when I was coming into my teenage years and so forth, really hooked on this weird fake sport that I loved and still love, obviously. So for me, this is kind of sad. Like, it's like another part of that that association is gone. He'd been in the WWE system for decades as well, the crazy Mother Hubbard. I'll miss him. Of course, he's become famous in latter years, I'm talking like a decade here, but he's become, you know, known for his elaborate Edge ring announcements and stuff. So whatever Tony Chimel does next, I hope it brings him joy, happiness, and lots of money, because
yes,
I just like his voice, and I think he was good at his job. So there
exactly.
we go. Let's move on to Survivor Series 2020. It's the final farewell of The Undertaker. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Terry Funk exists. But they're going to have a big song and dance about, you know, it's also the 30th anniversary of Undertaker's debut. If it's his final farewell, it's the perfect place to do it. One of the things WWE is going to do for this is bring back Savio Vega. Interesting for the event. This was announced by IWA Puerto Rico, who Savio Vega has a strong association with. They tweeted the following, and it was translated by Wrestling Inc. Quang slash Savio Vega will be back in WWE, this time to be present during the retirement of his great friend and brother, The Undertaker, who culminates a successful career exactly 30 years after his first appearance at Survivor Series 1990. This has significance in terms of Vega and Taker, because they were great backstage friends. They were part of the Bone Street Crew, which is not a weird gang that me and my friends made up in primary school. My housemate Adam Cleary has just walked into the bathroom. There he is. Yes, we do share one bathroom, and we use it at the same time. But Savio Vega's coming back. Survivor Series 2020. Yeah.
I really like this. I'm big fan of Savio Vega's back in the day, and you know, if you are going to portray this year's Survivor Series as the final farewell, again, like you say, take that with a big old mountain of salt. I like the touch of having him there to say farewell to a true legend. 30 years, the 30-year anniversary. No, 30 years. I always get that. As bad as WWE there for when it comes to 30 years and the 30-year anniversary. They are two different things that represent two different times. But anyway, yeah, great to see him back, and really excited to see what he does. A week on Sunday. God, Survivor Series is coming around quickly. Speaking of things that come around quickly. Nah, I can't even. Nah. Cody Rhodes, he's got his name back. Good for him. He, of course, lost the TNT Championship at Full Gear on Saturday. But he also has some serious political aspirations when it comes to retiring from professional wrestling. Now, he spoke to Bleacher Report prior to Full Gear last week and outlined his desire to run for the United States Senate in Georgia, amongst other things, saying, I have a ton of desire to do more acting, as long as it doesn't conflict with my job here. I'm 35, and I said I only wanted to wrestle for 5 more years. I have political aspirations. I'd love to run for the Senate in the great state of Georgia. I want to help with the sphere of influence I have created. He went on to state his belief, if you do the work, it will pay off. Called his wife Brandy incredibly hardworking. But yeah, politics and wrestling, Andy, what could possibly go wrong there?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong there, Jesse Ventura? Mayor Kane, of course, is a thing as well. Yeah, fair play to Cody, man. He's the guy with big ambitions, big dreams, big goals, never shy of expressing them, never going to shirk away from working towards them. Yeah, fair play to him. He wants to do more than just be known as a really great wrestler, and he is a really great wrestler, as he proved again at Full Gear this past week. So, yeah, cool.
Good luck to Cody in this in the future. Like he said, he said this repeatedly, 5 years left in the industry that he wants to work at least. But yeah, good luck. He's got my vote, but I can't vote, so there you go. Right, let's move on to our Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Nick Johnson, who says, given what's happened to them over the last 2 or 3 months, who the hell of Heavy Machinery or just Otis pissed off backstage? Mandy moved to Raw, team split via draft, losing Money in the Bank, Tucker betrayal with no feud, etc. And now, after last night's Monday Night Raw, Tucker winning a title before Otis.
Yeah. It's strange. If I was to speculate, and that's what essentially the invitation to do here is, I would reckon, or I would guess, that Vince McMahon has probably just lost interest in them, because we always heard those stories about Otis being a big like favorite of Vince because he's it's a funny fat guy who dances and stuff. But you know what Vince McMahon is like? The guy changes his mind at the drop of a hat. So if I was a gambling man, I would put at least 50 pence on that being the reason. It is quite a demotion for both of them. Tucker looks like a jobber now. He was a jobber last week. He lost to Rick O'Shea in under a minute. So yeah, it sucks for those guys. It really does, because they had mid-card potential as a tag team and so forth. But it's what happens in WWE, man. It's what happens.
Yeah, never become fans of a tag team, because it will not last. Like you say, Vince McMahon should change his mind at the drop of a hat, or at the drop of a ham. Second question today comes from Timothy Banks. He says, I can see WWE have a mystery teammate for the Women's SmackDown team at Survivor Series, and it would be Ronda Rousey. Wow, that would be a turn for the books, Tim. Who would you like to see return at Survivor Series, Andy?
Well, I mean, who else but fresh off his blockbuster return to mainstream professional wrestling at AEW Full Gear, who else but Gangrel, baby? You know, he's a vampire. The Undertaker's a goth. It makes perfect sense. They have prior associations. It's the Undertaker's night. Bring Gangrel in. I'm sure he's probably still a really good wrestler. He looked good in the Elite Deletion, man, when he was in the brief working sequences he has. I want to see Gangrel appear in every major wrestling promotion before the end of the year. I'm talking New Japan. We've had AEW. I'm talking Impact, WWE, MLW, AAA. Why the hell not? Book Gangrel and your numbers will soar.
Exactly. I like that as a booking decision. Ronda Rousey would be one hell of a surprise. I think that they may have done that had Survivor Series had a crowd. I just think now you'd rule out any big things like Brock or Ronda until crowds return, or Edge or anything like that. Fingers crossed, please God, let them be back for the Royal Rumble, of course. I'm going to have to go with one person who was one of the latest people, or last people, to have a truly great match with The Undertaker, CM Punk. Because I made a prediction at the start of this year he's going to return to the ring, and I am running out of time, brother. Okay, final question today comes from Christian Poderio, who says, what is next for Hangman Adam Page? Should he go on a losing streak now, or should he start a winning streak to challenge and win the TNT title on the same night with Omega winning the world title?
That's an interesting idea, one that I hadn't really considered before. I think we're going to see a lot more of the anxious millennial cowboy side of Hangman Page. What was he at Full Gear? He was Focused Yeehaw Man, I believe, or something like that. I think the Focused Yeehaw Man is going to go away for a little while. I think we're set for another kind of mopier period. We saw it when he was lurking in the tunnel at Full Gear. We saw him being the Elite last night as well. All his friends were celebrating, popping champagne. Well, we won, we're good, we're champions and stuff. Hangman Page was just being sad because he's not, like, you know, he's messed up. He's not made mates with these guys. So there's a long character arc in play with Hangman Page, and I believe personally that it won't involve the TNT title. I believe it'll culminate with him winning the world title from Kenny Omega at Full Gear 2021.
Yeah, he needs a big redemption arc now. I need myself a Rocky montage with Hangman Page beating his meat in a basement. Okay, let's move on to today's, and finally, yesterday I asked for your awkward wrestling moments. Can't believe I got away with that. I asked for your awkward wrestling moments about times when people have walked in and going, what are you watching? So thanks to everyone who tweeted us and sent us loads in the comments on yesterday's news video. Sasquatch Incognito writes, awkward moment years ago on Raw. My mum was watching when Triple H set up one of the women for a pedigree. I had to explain it wasn't as bad as it looked. He was just setting her up for a move. Which is interesting, because I'll swear I walked in on my parents once and they said my dad was just setting my mum up for a move. Next question today comes from Stuart Easter Taylor. Not a question, one of the other ones that we got. Stuart says, replying to your and finally question, my husband didn't understand while I was crying happy tears watching the Iconics win at WrestleMania 35. Very awkward and reminded me I don't cry at real life situations. Yeah, I think people seeing my reaction to stuff like that must be like, wow, you're really into this sort of thing, aren't they? But my favourite one comes from Mark Smith. Most awkward moment watching wrestling, Mark writes, would be my stepdad returning from work in the early hours of the morning, right as Edge and Lita were in the middle of their live sex celebration. I knew we'd get one about this. Thank you to Mark Smith. God, it's a dangerous life watching wrestling, isn't it, Andy?
It is, man, and the live sex celebration might be the worst thing in the world for someone to walk into, apart from Katie Vick.
Or Mae Young giving birth to a hand, so...
Also that.
It's just... It's just dangerous. Watch wrestling on your own and make sure you are home alone when you watch it.
Lock the door.
All right, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts wrong, for daily wrestling podcasts, including myself and the Dadley Boys reviewing Monday Night Raw a little bit later on. What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at...
You can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Birthday Ryback. He doesn't like us very much. Why don't you like us, Ryback? We like you. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
From one bald guy to another. Let's squash it.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.